Trailer Park Boys is what the mockumentary subgenre was designed for. It is the ultimate manifestation of its purest form.
Bam! Peanut butter and jam! What the fuck are you doing, Phil?
There's nothing quite like it. But even the purest human achievements are imperfect, and as such, it's worthwhile to explore how it could be improved upon, or made even better. There are people out there who will tell you that this intro is iconic and untouchable. I appreciate the irony of its tone, but it gets old after you've seen it 100+ times. It could use some changes season by season. Like there are children, but no adults. Could also include shots of the nearby lake, things like shopping carts, or grow lamps seen through windows. This also raises the question of whether Trailer Park Boys is really the best name for this program. One can conceive of contenders for it. That being said, it is a good title as is, and might be better than these, to be honest. It's just a thought. The prologue sequence that starts off the first episode is incredibly fucking lame, and makes you want to turn it off and watch something else. Being in black and white doesn't help, but that's not even the worst part of it. It's out of context, and if you look at the pilot preceding the shootout, you'll find that it is fucked. It should just start with Ricky and Julian being released from prison. In season 1, we were introduced to Mrs. Peterson, who thinks she is Julian's grandmother. I don't suppose there's any reason she couldn't be his real grandmother, right? But regardless, she should have been a recurring character who could help cultivate a stronger network of extras. This is one of the few dynamics that the later seasons are better at, with characters like Donnie, Marguerite, and the Rock Pile. Maybe there's a reason for her disappearance. I didn't look into it, since at this stage of the show that would basically be researching a private citizen. There's a brief period in season 4 when Ricky's car is equipped with what appears to be the door from Leahy's car, but this is hard to keep track of, or even notice without close observation. This should have been developed into a premise where Ricky is shown installing it and it gets destroyed by the end of the episode. There was no good reason for the double-length episodes to be released separately from their corresponding seasons. It just makes for an arduous ordeal in navigating the show. Netflix should provide a built-in guide for the chronology. They can also make a shit ton of money selling DVDs of the complete series once it's complete, now that streaming is fucked. There's a running joke of everybody smoking pot and Ricky trading his pot in exchange for goods and services. I find that this is overused, but it could be redeemed if throughout an episode he attempts this remedy with progressively higher risks and ends up in jail when it doesn't work for the first time.
Julian, the vacuum cleaner's my car.
Come on, Julian, that's funny. Lighten up.
Thomas Collins is one of the most random characters in all of television, whose brief appearance on the show ended as mysteriously as he arrived. It's hard to say where they were going with it, but I guess it affirms that nerds can come from trailer parks too, and everywhere really. This type of guy also wouldn't have that domestic car he's so proud of. One of those modified Hondas or Subarus is more suited to his personality, with Japanese decals on it.
If we were trying, we wouldn't have come close.
I lost my shoe.
One good thing about the first feature film is this grainy filter effect. The other movies should have looked like this too. Instead of introducing this new Sonny character, they should have used an existing character like Cyrus, Terry and Dennis, or maybe even Sam Losco. Now you may be thinking that none of them are really a good fit for that role, and they're not. But I've come to notice that a big part of the show is using these villain characters for a diverse range of purposes, and it justifies itself over time. Ricky's comments on weed legalization towards the end of Don't Legalize It should have ended up as less of a W One of them pointed out that he wasn't making logical arguments, which was true, and that made it something of an anticlimax. Ricky should have said what he said to pose the questions for the viewer to answer and then get absolutely struck down, and so he gets rough with them in frustration. They're probably shooting another season right now. Hell, there's probably 2 unreleased seasons under their belt. You've got to admire how fucking productive these guys are. They've done just about everything possible to capitalize on the series, and all that's left that they should focus all their energy on is a final movie that ties everything together. It should also be relatively contained within itself and able to exist as a standalone film to attract wider audiences. A possible premise is the boys have to save the park from gentrification. I know that they're shooting new seasons out of town, but if we pretend it's where they shot season 3, it begins with half the park already redeveloped into a condominium complex as Halifax is annexing land. I don't know if they got a stormwater lake or a real lake, but nonetheless it's named the Lake Stratas at Timberlea South. Developers love that awkward at conjunction instead of a comma. Also note that they named it after this locality that it's actually outside of. And despite it being indisputably southeast, they just call it south, even though there's no need to include the direction at all. The main antagonist is a Karen president of the HOA who happens to be banging Cyrus or Randy or anyone in between. Something goes on at the Blandford Recreation Center, and Jacob and Corey have dim-witted lackeys of their own to boss around. Ricky and or Julian returns from prison to find Bubbles now resides in a mansion as his microbrewery has been a complete success. The boys are then squatting in maybe a dozen condemned, dilapidated trailers that remain, while planning outrageous schemes to build another trailer park.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy, for your expert testimony and for providing this very illuminating tape.
A lot of extras have this weird transatlantic accent. I don't know if it's an accurate representation of how they actually talk in Nova Scotia, or if it's just the favored prose of small-time actors. It was a huge missed opportunity to not have any characters from Nova Scotia's fucked off exotic neighbor. Here's a description of the average Newfie, not exaggerated for TV. First of all, he's missing teeth from scurvy. He's outfitted with a harpoon at all times and has perpetually got on some sort of waterproof pants with suspenders that he would wear before the commercial fishing industry capsized and went under. Now he wears the same outfit for waiting in oil wells and doing everything that requires an H2S safety ticket. His house in Alberta was literally built yesterday with a front-facing garage. The perfect garage to blow your brains out with a shotgun in. But his house in Newfoundland is the complete opposite. It's 220 years old and has a cracked foundation. The stone stairs are completely uneven. The first one is 4 inches. Second one is 3 3/4. The third one is actually 7.5 inches. The fourth is 2 9/16. He plays the guitar, plays the harmonica, the fiddle, the accordion, saxophone. He plays every instrument known to man.
How to talk like a
Newfie.
Part 1.
Start with an Irish accent. Replace every TH with D. No exceptions. Puts an S at the end of every verb. And throw in all kinds of apostrophes. I go to my friend's house across the park. Becomes...
I goes to me buy's quarters over there across the park.
This is a suggestion that I wouldn't make for any other show, but Trailer Park Boys should have continued to use a 4:3 aspect ratio in HD in new seasons to preserve that rugged energy. Everyone's familiar with the greasy reputation of the new Netflix seasons. There's a number of reasons for it. I'd say the premises of each and every season have actually been very good, but it's the finer details that are lacking. The nature of all the swearing is excessive, and by excessive I don't mean too much. I mean, they're trying too hard and it doesn't sound natural. And the pacing got
slowed way down.
Every episode is protracted with non-essential details. I used to have a cynical attitude about the industry's obsession with trimming everything down, but I've come to realize and accept that there are mediums where every second truly matters, and that includes sitcoms as well as YouTube.com. If I can ask for another second of your attention, go ahead and click on these buttons. Names of places like the hospital and prison being Sunnyvale really breaks immersion because that's just not how places are named in real life, anywhere. Realistically, the namesake would only be for the park itself, maybe a nearby strip mall. Maybe Leslie Dancer should have been introduced as a new resident of the park, who Leahy then hires as a guard, specifically to deal with Ricky, but gradually relinquishes control. Further into the season, his doctor visits the park with concerning test results, suggesting early stages of Alzheimer's. I think this would make for more of an epic character arc. Not only was it a bad idea to give Ricky a last name in the first place, but for him to be known by this last name that doesn't really suit him at all just kills a part of him in a way. There's a moment in season 12 where his girlfriend addresses him by his full name, and it pretty much ruins the whole season. I haven't watched Out of the Park since it came out around a decade ago, but remember finding it kind of meaningless. Imagine how strange it would be if any other show had a spin-off like this. It's kind of all predicated on a single joke, like what if Ricky was exposed to foreign cultures or whatever. I'm probably not the first to say it, but imagine the spectacle of Ricky dining at Nova Scotia's finest restaurant. It would be an opportunity to make fun of both the character and the kind of ritualistic nature of some of these restaurants. I mean, I'm not a complete redneck. I don't watch NASCARs, but there is something masochistic about the performance of going to certain restaurants. The animated series is a little too mundane, with no more cartoonish events than the regular episodes. The whole thing is induced by mushrooms, but there's nothing psychedelic about the plot lines. The art style is cool, but there's nothing psychedelic or unique about it either.
This can't
I
be
think it
happening.
should have been
It's not
trippy
real.
as fuck, even if it had to be short.
Mr. Leahy, I love you, bud.
Trailer Park Boys Jail has got this degenerate junkie character who's actually decent conceptually, but he's played by a regular, nondescript white boy with a Minnesota accent. They should have got somebody who's absolutely fucked looking. Somebody who looks like Jacob at the very least. I completely forgot about their latest movie until I had all of this written. I haven't seen this. But who in their right mind would conceive of this title, much less go with it? Is it worth watching? Anyway, that's my 2 cents, but I've never made a TV show, so what do I know?